So with Mahomes' ankle injury putting him in question to play earlier this week, it not only seems like he is gonna play, but with another key weapon looking to return as well, the Chiefs are making their plan clear. Getting the 1 seed is the most important thing on their list. And while many people may not like to hear Mahomes is probably gonna play, I'll break down why it's most likely happening and why it's important, a Texans defensive lineman talking some trash, CEH already finding a new home, and more. But first, how about those? All right, so the Chiefs take on the Texans this Saturday, 12 o'clock Arrowhead time in Kansas City. The high on the day is going to be nearly 40 with a low of mid-20s, and that does favor the Chiefs because the Texans play in Texas, but also they have a dome. In spite of that, though, the Texans are currently 2.5-point favorites over KC, presumably because of the injury of Patrick Mahomes' ankle, and a bit of an unknown there on whether he is going to start or it's going to be Carson Wentz. More on that in a bit, trust me, but anything 3 points or less in this regard basically means they have no idea who's going to win this game, and I will say this is going to be a tough one. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You cannot overlook the Houston Texans. The Texans are first in the AFC South at 9-5 and have gone 3-3 in their last 6 games. They lost to the Jets by 8, then the Lions by 3. That was the 5-interception game from Jared Goff, by the way, and the Lions still found a way to win that one. Then the Texans smoked the Cowboys like a Cuban cigar. From there, they lost to the Titans by 5, but have since rattled off back-to-back W's against the Jags and the Dolphins. They beat the Jags by 3, and most recently, they beat the Dolphins by 8 this past Sunday. And yeah, these wins don't look that impressive on paper, especially against teams that are struggling as much as the Jags and Dolphins are, but we are all well aware as Chiefs fans that at the end of the day, none of that matters. Just get the freaking W and get the heck out of there. The Chiefs defense had a dominant game against Cleveland, but so did the Texans defense against Miami. They picked off Tua 3 times and also recovered a fumble, winning the turnover battle 4-1. The strength of the Texans is definitely going to be their defense. CJ Stroud is a dog. We'll talk more about him in tomorrow's preview video, but their defense is elite. They've had at least 1 takeaway in 9 straight games. They're tied for second with 28 takeaways, 19 of those being interceptions. Both Derek Stingley Jr. and Kalen Bullock each have 5 interceptions apiece and will be guys to preferably stay away from this week. Then their defensive line is also very good, and they know that we know it. So much so that one guy over there is choosing to run his mouth a little bit about this upcoming game.
I hope he's mobile enough because we coming. The Pat better make a good decision. I ain't making no threats. I'm making promises.
Well, that was defensive tackle Tim Settle. And if he comes off as petty and insecure, it is because he is in fact petty and insecure. It's fine though. He's got a right to be confident in the Texans D-line. They have the second most sacks in the NFL with 45, only behind the Broncos who have 49. Then they are 10th in pressures with 129 despite being in the bottom half of the league in blitz percentage. That means they know how to get home with just using their linemen and not having to send pressure, kind of like the Kansas City Chiefs have had to do until Charles Omenihu's return. Now, Danielle Hunter is worry number 1 on the D-line with 58 pressures and 12 sacks on the year, but Will Anderson Jr. is right behind him with 46 pressures and 10.5 sacks. Then the man from that video, Tim Settle, is actually 3rd on the team with 34 pressures and 5 sacks himself. He's basically having a career year and feeling pretty good about it, to say the least. So while we don't have to love how Settle went about saying that in that presser, they do have a right to be confident, especially considering the fact that if Patrick Mahomes plays, he's not going to be 100% out there on that ankle. Combine that with the fact that even when healthy, Mahomes has been sacked a career-high 35 times and has been knocked down more than any other QB in the league. The battle in the trenches is going to be the battle to watch. I do want to speak on that QB knockdown stat a bit more because it is definitely concerning. Also got to give an update on Mahomes' ankle as well as who could be starting between he and Wentz, and got to give some unfortunate news about who is officiating this upcoming game. But before I do, Chiefs VIDS is back with another partnered giveaway, and this one is fire. It's a super limited edition Travis Kelce signed bobblehead. He does not sign many of these, so this is pretty freaking cool. And while his number on here does have a little bit of wear, so does Travis Kelce after 12 years in the NFL, so in a way, it's a little symbolic. More on how to enter to win that in a moment, but in case you didn't know, Chiefs VIDS is accessible through the official Chiefs app and features all kinds of signed Chiefs memorabilia plus game-used and game-worn items from current or former Chiefs players that you can bid on. This week, they have some Travis Kelce signed Super Bowl 58 commemorative tickets, a Mahomes signed used game ball, signed Chris Jones footballs, game-worn Pacheco and Noah Gray jerseys, and so much more. So make sure to check the app frequently because items get updated all the time, and to enter for your chance to win this super rare signed Travis Kelce bobblehead, all you gotta do is join Chiefs VIDS private Facebook group, link is in the description, or just scan the QR code that's up on the screen. Accept the group rules, that's important, and when approved, all you gotta do is tag 3 friends on the post that is pinned up in the featured section featuring the Kelce bobblehead image, and then also make sure to invite those 3 friends that you tagged in the post to join the group as well. The winner will be chosen on Christmas, which is Wednesday, December 25th, so best of luck. Alright, we all know Mahomes has been getting hit left and right, which is part of the reason why we were so confused as to why the Chiefs basically opted to abandon the run last week against Cleveland when they were up 21 and even up 14 in the second half. But I didn't realize how often Mahomes was actually getting hit. He is the most hit quarterback in the league. Look at this. According to Fantasy Pros, only 4 quarterbacks in the NFL have been knocked down 50 or more times. Justin Herbert's been knocked down 51, then Joe Burrow 59, Matt Stafford 60, and finally, at the top of this list is Patrick Mahomes at 65 times this man has been knocked down in 14 games. And just FYI, through 16 games last year, Mahomes was knocked down 65 times. So he's already matched that with 3 games left to play this season. I mean, it makes sense given the revolving door at the left tackle spot, technically on left tackle number 4, with Joe Thuney kicking out to the left side after Kingsley couldn't cut it, Wanye couldn't cut it, and then DJ Humphries could cut it in theory, but he's nursing the hamstring. So revolving left tackles, and it's also because only Joe Burrow has attempted more passes than Mahomes. Andy Reid cannot help himself. He loves to have his team throwing the football. He even said after the game last week that in this league, you've got to be able to throw the ball. Well, that's why fans have been screaming for them instead to, God dang it, run the dang ball! Now, before I get to Ankle Watch 3.0, did you guys know that a fan favorite is officiating this game on Saturday? You know, the guy who Travis Kelce said years back shouldn't even be allowed to work at Foot Locker. The same guy who officiated Super Bowl 55, in which KC was flagged 11 times for 120 yards. The same guy who flagged Chris Jones for roughing the passer on Derek Carr when he freaking became the ball carrier on his way to the ground. And also the same guy whose crew flagged Kadarius Toney for being offsides in that Bills game where Kelce lateraled the ball to Toney for the go-ahead touchdown late in the 4th quarter. And that is, of course, none other than Carl Cheffers. So yeah, Kansas City hates this man with a passion, and fans love to talk about him whenever he gets assigned as the head ref. But in the Mahomes era, the Chiefs are 9-3 with Cheffers officiating their games and also officiated Super Bowl 57 in the Chiefs' win over the Eagles, and that featured a late holding call to move the chains for Kansas City. So it's not really all that bad, even though the history with him is shaky at best and he and his crew loves to flag the hell out of the Chiefs. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below on Cheffers officiating. Are you concerned about it? Or, nah, the Chiefs pay off the refs, so we're all good there. Just joking. Just joking. Anyway, next up, the talk of the town, of course, is Mahomes and Ankle Watch 3.0, I believe it is now. Yesterday, both he and Andy Reid spoke to the media, and basically, yes, Mahomes has what's being labeled as a mild high ankle sprain, but it's not as bad as his last ankle sprain that he had to fight through a couple of playoffs ago. If you remember, Mahomes suffered what was labeled a grade 2 high ankle sprain in the game against the Jaguars, with KC going on to win that game, then beat the Bengals in the AFC Championship, and finally the Eagles in Super Bowl 57. Mahomes spent quite a bit of the offseason rehabbing that ankle, and even during OTAs, so months later, after the Super Bowl, he said he was still working to get that ankle back to 100%. So the good news here is this current ankle issue he's dealing with is less severe, but obviously it still hurts and could affect him moving forward if he doesn't get this thing healed up. Mahomes said the plan is to do all he can to test the limits of the ankle this week at practice. He spent like 12 hours at the facility on Monday getting it worked on and will continue to get it worked on all week long. I also want to point out that this is not the same ankle he tweaked a couple months ago. That was his left ankle. Well, this time it's his right leg, which is the same ankle he sprained pretty badly those couple postseasons ago. Regardless, Andy Reid said that they'll see how Mahomes responds at practice this week after having convos with Pat, the trainers, and the medical staff to see if he's going to end up starting on Saturday or if they're going to roll with Carson Wentz instead. And while I do have some positive news in theory about how things are looking for Mahomes, I'll share that in a moment. For what it's worth, Andy Reid did seem pretty confident in Carson Wentz if he needed to go out there and play on Saturday. Wentz also spoke with the media yesterday saying he's treating this week just like he would any other week, as if he's needed to go in there and start. That's always been his mindset, and if Mahomes can't go, he's more than ready to step in. Obviously, Wentz has barely played this season. He's the backup, but he works every week with the scout team, and his teammates often compliment how good he looks out there, specifically defenders that have to go up against him because they say he's out there throwing dime after dime. Wentz was on an MVP trajectory before getting injured in 2017 when Nick Foles stepped in and helped Philly beat the Patriots in Super Bowl 52. And while Wentz may not be who he once was, he's only a couple years older than Patrick Mahomes. Wentz is 31 and also arguably the best backup quarterback in the entire NFL. Andy Reid said, of course, Wentz has been a starter for a long time in the league, and because of that, he's very smart, he's got a big arm, he can move, and Andy Reid thinks he should be a starter somewhere in the league even to this day. Quote, he's a heck of a player, and secretly, or selfishly rather, Andy Reid would love to have him stay as a backup, but again, would you rather have Carson Wentz out there at this point in time or Anthony Richardson? That answer should probably speak for itself. And while many fans here in KC might prefer to see Wentz play this Saturday against the Texans, mainly to give Mahomes some extra rest before the Christmas game, because it's only like 4 days after that, Mahomes wants to play in this game. He's a competitor and wants to help his team get that 1 seed ASAP, because that's going to allow some crucial rest here down the stretch. The 1 seed is in their hands right now. They have it, and it's currently theirs to lose. Basically, if the Chiefs win Saturday and the Bills lose against the Patriots on Sunday, the 1 seed is theirs no matter what. The Bills, though, are probably going to beat the Patriots, let's be honest. I mean, it's a division game. Those can get weird, so we shall see. But they should win it, and if they do, that means all KC will need to do after Saturday, if they beat the Texans, is win also on Christmas. So if you win the next 2 games, no matter what, you're going to lock in the 1 seed, and that will allow them to rest starters if they want Week 18 against the Broncos, and it's also going to give you the first round bye. Well, that's why James Palmer shared this morning that the expectation is Mahomes is going to try and give it a go on Saturday. He won't be 100%, but the belief is that Mahomes is going to try to play against the Texans. Palmer is also well connected inside the building, and so I do believe this to be the case, and that's also how it's trending per the team's injury report. And before we get to the Chiefs, a couple of notable players to keep your eyes on for the Houston Texans. Defensive tackle Foley Fatukasi, he's dealing with an ankle issue and has not practiced all week. Then you've got wide receiver John Mechie III. He has not participated all week either, with a shoulder injury as well, and he hasn't had a ton of production this year, but with Stephon Diggs out on IR, every single receiver matters. Then, of course, you've got to keep your eyes on running back Joe Mixon. He's having a great season with them, missed a few games earlier on in the season with a lower body injury and is dealing with an ankle injury right now after getting hip drop tackled last week. He left the game, returned, and then just didn't look quite right. So he's been limited all week with an ankle. He should play, but it is worth knowing that he might not be coming into this game at 100%. And obviously, neither will QB1 Patrick Mahomes. With that being said, though, Patrick Mahomes is probably going to be playing. This is his 2nd day in a row now. If you look here, Patrick Mahomes, ankle, full participant, 2nd day in a row. Everybody on here has been a full go, including Hollywood Brown. At least these 5 that I'm specifically talking about here. He is trending to play, Hollywood Brown. Will he make his debut? They've got a roster spot open for him when they let go of Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and I do want to talk about him in a second because he just signed with another team. In a sense, he is going home, and I'm very happy for him. But looking at this injury report, Hollywood Brown, full go. Creed, full go. Harrison Butker, full go. He's fine. And then Jawan Taylor is fine as well. But then DJ Humphries is the left tackle that has not practiced all week. And with that being said, that probably means Joe Thuney is once again going to kick out to left tackle, and Mike Caliendo will be the left guard. You want your best 5 out there on the O-line, especially against a Texans D-line, as I talked about earlier on in this video. They are very good, and you need your best 5 out there. Then Chamari Connor, he is in concussion protocol, took a nasty knee to the head last game. I don't think he's going to be playing, so you're going to be seeing more work from Nazeeh Johnson, Joshua Williams, Chris Roland Wallace, Jaden Hicks. You'll kind of see a plethora of guys probably working in there, but those are the couple things to keep your eyes on, and that's why I titled this video, "The Chiefs' Plan has been revealed," and you may not like it. A lot of people probably want Patrick Mahomes to rest, right? I get it, but he wants to play. They want to lock up this 1 seed. Rest later, greater than rest now. Because as Matt Derrick points out of Chiefs Digest, why would your starting QB be a full participant if your backup is going to start? He wouldn't, right? In theory, if Carson Wentz was trending towards starting, he'd be getting the reps in practice. But Patrick Mahomes is likely to start per James Palmer, as I shared a bit ago. And speaking of James Palmer, he just gave an update on 96.5 The Fan about Mahomes, saying this. He's obviously not 100%, but he looked pretty good. They've been really impressed. So that's how you know Patrick Mahomes is trending towards playing. And people are going to have mixed opinions about that, but you want your best 5 out there on the O-line and your best quarterback out there throwing passes, especially if you're going to have another weapon out there in Hollywood Brown. He's not officially back yet, but he should be brought back to the roster before this game if all things go according to plan. The last thing I want to talk about here before getting out of here is Clyde Edwards-Helaire signed with the Saints practice squad today. They made a corresponding move to make room for him, but that's another former Chief headed to New Orleans. He grew up like 2 hours or so from there as well, so he's kind of going home. This is kind of weird though, and I commented about it in response. If Clyde is healthy enough to play, that makes things just confusing to me. Why didn't the Chiefs use him at all in the rotation when he was brought back from NFI? He was a healthy scratch all season long, especially when Isaiah Pacheco was out on IR. Why on earth did they not use Clyde at all? I have no idea. Your guess is as good as mine. I'm happy for him. He's going to get a fresh start. He's on the practice squad, probably like a Steven Nelson situation for the Chiefs, in the sense of the Chiefs have Steven Nelson on the practice squad right now, but he's not going to play this week. Andy Reid said it's going to be a little bit of a ramp-up period. The Saints, meanwhile, are dealing with a couple injuries over there. Alvin Kamara has a groin issue going on as we speak. But yeah, happy for him. Let me know your thoughts on CEH returning quote-unquote home, joining players like Colin Saunders, MVS, and Tyrann Mathieu, all former Chiefs. There's probably even another one that I'm forgetting about that is a former Chief playing over there with the Saints. But let me know your thoughts on that. And let me know your thoughts on quarterback 1, Patrick Mahomes, playing this Saturday. Do you think it's important to go ahead and try to lock up that 1 seed, win Saturday, win Christmas, then rest? Or, nah, you should rest him because you think the Chiefs could make it happen with Carson Wentz and Mahomes resting that ankle? Let me know either way in the comments down below. And until next time, let's go. Let's freaking go. How about those?